All right, the latest news break coming in right now. The Prime Minister has reached the venue of the National Executive of the BJP. We're getting in live visuals and just minutes from now, Prime Minister Modi will make a big pro-poor announcement. Something, an inclination that was even given by the Finance Minister Rahul Gandhi, where he is expected to launch the Saubhagya power scheme, electricity for all. Also expected to make some big ticket announcements on economy. Well, these are live visuals that we're getting in just shortly from now. We'll hear the Prime Minister make that speech. He's at the BJP's National Executive, which is attended by over 2,000 BJP members, right from MLAs, MLCs, MPs and even chief ministers across states. Well, these visuals coming in of the Prime Minister at the BJP's National Executive. Stand by for the Prime Minister's big speech, where he is expected now, anytime now, to make big ticket announcements, especially a pro-poor announcement is in the offing, is what we are being told. An inclination which was given earlier by Mr. Arun Jaitley in his speech. All right, so these are the visuals of the Prime Minister coming in. He did also spoke directly to BJP members, where he said that don't look at winning 2019, but what you need to do is do good work for the people of this country. Well, that is what he said. He is flanked by BJP ministers R.K. Singh, Dharmendra Pradhan. All right. Well, these are the visuals coming in. Unveiling a marquee there. Big ticket announcements to be made primarily on what grounds? Well, what we are getting an inkling right now that the announcement which is going to be coming in shortly would launch the Saubhagya power scheme, electricity for all. Also expected to make some big announcements on economy. Could also talk about the rise in petrol prices. Well, he is flanked by the Petroleum Minister Dharmendra Pradhan there. So that's what we are expecting anytime right now. Prime Minister Modi to make that big speech. An inclination of that was given by the Finance Minister Arun Jaitley, who addressed the BJP members a short while back. Of course, the Prime Minister has already spoken directly to the BJP workers. Over 2,000 of them who've come in for the National Executive that is taking place in the national capital, where the big development from that is that he told BJP members not to focus on 2019 and actually just work for the people. However, big ticket announcements are in the offing, and what is expected is that he might just make an announcement of free electricity for all, especially. All right, so that's what you're getting in. This announcement would come in shortly, in just minutes from now. We'll hear the Prime Minister speak. So stand by for the Prime Minister's Modi's big announcement. Well, it's all right. He's expected to speak shortly, and he will launch the Saubhagya power scheme, electricity for all. Also expected to make some big announcement on economy.
Renewable energy source.
All right, let's try and listen in.
In that sense, this building has its own, speciality.
All right, so
it is. Though ONGC is known for producing
a tour of ONGC been given to the Prime Minister on their big projects there. Of course, this one is the Green Building Project, something which the Prime Minister has always made a thrust for, which is the Go Green thrust, where we come down to our ecology, to leave less of a carbon footprint. I want to connect to Gaurav Sawant, our executive editor, who's going to talk us through on what we can expect. You know, Gaurav, that big speech that he had made at the National Executive earlier had stated, where the BJP cadre is concerned, that not to look at 2019 but work for the people. Now, what we are expecting in this direct announcement, an inkling that was given by the Finance Minister, Mr. Jaitley, a short while ago, big ticket announcements expected, especially for the poor, where energy is concerned, and even economy. What are you picking up?
So the Saubhagya Yojana is going to be one of the big ticket announcements that Prime Minister Narendra Modi will make in a short while from now. While the focus is, reaching out to the last man and last woman in this country, getting them the basic facilities, the focus will be initially on getting them electricity supply. in those areas where they don't have power supply, battery bank, solar powered fans, electricity. That is one of the efforts that will be made, something on the lines of Ujjwala Yojana as far as gas connections were concerned. That was a game changer as far as winning elections was concerned. The BJP hoping Saubhagya Yojana will be something like that in the coming elections. So while, they may say that just winning elections is not the key and benefiting people is their effort, but this is the effort to ensure by 2019, and that is the target given to ministers, that by 2019 every house should have electricity, either wired electricity or power backup.
And Gaurav, an inkling of that was of course made by the Finance Minister Arun Jaitley, who did say that the Prime Minister today will make those big ticket announcements, especially where the economy is concerned as well. It's not in a place where probably, the Finance Minister or the Prime Minister would want it. There is an issue where jobs are concerned. It seems he's going to be touching on that as well.
Absolutely. That is one of the biggest challenges for the Narendra Modi government. But, as the Union Finance Minister Arun Jaitley pointed out, that in the last quarter, the GDP went down while the service sector, according to him, may have done well. Manufacturing was down, and that brought the economy down. But it's not per quarter. It's the general sentiment. So while the government says the sentiment is up, the effort is to once again set the ball rolling ahead of 2019. So when we take a look at what's been happening, 5 LED lights, 1 DC fan, 1 DC power plug, repair and maintenance for 5 years. So this is what is their initial plan as far as Pradhan Mantri's Sahaj Har Ghar Bijli Yojana or Saubhagya is concerned. What is the expected outcome? Now the government's is big on clean energy and green energy. That is again one of their main focus areas. So this is something that the Prime Minister is likely to announce in a while from now. There will also be a series of other announcements as far as pro-poor programs are concerned in this government.
All right, so pro-poor announcements that are expected. He would be touching upon the economy. That is also expected, especially the issue of price rise where fuel is concerned. Well, the Prime Minister, in all probability, would be saying that. Well, right now he's at the ONGC building. He's going through their big ticket projects where ONGC is concerned. He's flanked by the Petroleum Minister, Dharmendra Pradhan. He also has R.K. Singh by his side. Gaurav, can you take us through what exactly is happening? Of course, he's marking the birth anniversary of Deen Dayal Upadhyay by inaugurating these big ticket projects with the ONGC. But the push here is clearly go green. He's done it over and over again, where he's urged not just his ministers but also people of not leaving so much of a carbon imprint.
So the Prime Minister has so far moved forward on 2 aspects. Even in the climate change agreement, even when United States backed out, the Prime Minister said when India is going big on this, our focus is not to win brownie points, but to leave a better environment for our next generation, for our future generations. And that is why India is going massive on clean energy, on solar energy. You've seen India is one of the biggest drivers for solar energy now. Apart from that, the Prime Minister focusing on getting energy to every household in this country by the year 2019.
Right.
It is a big task, but so far they felt they've been able to deliver when they moved along this path. They're hoping to re-energize, their cadre, and through their cadre get more electricity to more people, reach out to more people. That is what the effort appears to be at this stage. Preeti.
Okay, Gaurav, let's just look at this. Now, there were usually at a national executive, 2 resolutions are taken, one of a political nature and one possibly of an economic nature. It seems this time around we're going to see one resolution that would be passed by the national executive. What are you picking up? What could be that on?
100 people in a village. So to cut the cost there and at the same time install everything on the road. So government is going to send...
All right, Gaurav, can you hear me?
To solar panels. And for this solar panel, government is going
All right.
to
We seem to have lost Gaurav Sawant. We're going to try and connect to him in a short while from now. But this is Prime Minister's power push. Essentially, what we would be picking up later on is the fact that the Prime Minister will make some big ticket announcements. One related to power. He is expected to make that announcement, which is primarily pertaining to the Saubhagya power scheme, which means electricity for all. Now, what would be the dynamics of that, the modalities of that scheme? Well, the Prime Minister would be announcing that in a short while from now, but he's also expected to make some big announcements on economy. All right, my colleague Balakrishna is joining us on the phone line from the ONGC building, where the Prime Minister is, of course, going through the big ticket projects where ONGC is concerned. Bala, would you give us details on what is expected from the Prime Minister today? Of course, big ticket announcements concerning the economy, concerning power for all. Give us details.
See, this is the very ambitious program that the Prime Minister is going to launch. This is called Saubhagya scheme, and this seems to be inspired from the success of Ujjwala Yojana, which was the LPG scheme. So similarly, this Saubhagya scheme aims to take electricity to each and every household. I mean, as we know that the government earlier had this target of taking electricity to every village. Now the government is targeting that by March 2019, by 31st March 2019, government aims to electrify each and every household in the country, and a huge budget of 16,000 crore has been earmarked for this, and the government has different programs, different plans for this, like 60% of this 16,000 crore is going to be spent by the central government, 10% will be borne by the states, and 30% of this is going to be loans. So this is an ambitious scheme by which the government aims to electrify each and every household in the country by 31st March 2019.
All right, Bala, well, let's come to the national executive, because with what we were witnessing earlier, the inkling given that there's going to be big ticket announcements that would be made was given just a short while back by the Finance Minister, Rahul Gandhi, where he did go on to suggest that the Prime Minister will be making, an announcement which was extremely important. So, of course, it would be on the lines of with what you just pointed out in terms of power for all. But he would definitely have to touch on where the economy is concerned. It's not going great guns right now. There's a huge crisis where jobs are concerned, something that the BJP came to power with.
And in that direction, Prime Minister speculations that the government may announce some economic some stimulus package today, but the program that the Prime Minister is right now going to launch, Saubhagya Yojana, this is not exactly the stimulus package that was being speculated. In fact, there are still talks that in the days to come, the government may announce some stimulus package to kickstart the economy, which has slowed down. And the Finance Minister has also indicated that the government is in the process of chalking out a stimulus package. But right now, the program that the government is launching it may be kind of a stimulus package because it has a allotment of 16,000 crores. But this is exactly not the program. This is not exactly the stimulus package that was being speculated.
So maybe that'll come in later. But where the national executive is concerned, Bala, if you can give us details. Usually, two resolutions are passed, one of an economic nature, one of a political nature. What are we expecting this time around?
As you're speaking, in fact, the Prime Minister...
Government, this national executive is happening at a time when definitely there is worry within the government, and the several ministers have also agreed that even the Finance Minister has agreed that there are things that are worrying, that despite all the efforts of the government, the economy has not picked up the pace. The recovery is not happening the way government would have liked it to happen, and the economy has rather slowed down. I mean, the government has been reasoning that this is because this is a short-term pain because of GST and because of demonetization, but really things are not picking up, and that is why the government is planning to announce some kind of a stimulus package to which will effectively means the government will spend its own money, or government will pour in its own money into the economy so that things gather pace, and that as we said, that this package is going to be likely to be announced in a day or two, and the Finance Minister indicated so that he is discussing such a plan with the Prime Minister.
All right, Bala, would you give us more details on what exactly is the Saubhagya Yojana?
Yes, Saubhagya Yojana, as I said, the Saubhagya Yojana is a plan of the ambitious program of the government by which the government aims to electrify each and every household in the country. I mean, this seems to be a very ambitious program because right now, as the government claims that the electricity has already reached to every village in the country, but the fact is that the penetration of electricity to the household is very poor. I mean, the villages may be electrified on paper, but there are so many villages. More than half of the households in the country are not electrified. That means that even though there is electricity supply in the village or the town, but there are so many houses left where there is no connection. So now the government takes plans to do this last mile connectivity, and the government has in fact a plan in which it will take electricity to each and every household in the country. And as I said, it is a huge 16,000 crore budget for this. The government has even plans for the remote areas where electricity is not possible. So the government will be giving 5 LED lights, 1 fan, 1 battery to these to the remote areas, and there is a breakup in how central government and state government are going to fund this entire project.
All right, so, to break it down, this ambitious scheme where my colleague Bala was pointing out 16,000 crore rupees has been sanctioned for it. The scheme aims at providing the last mile electric connectivity to all rural, urban households. Mind you, this is the last mile connectivity to even the remote areas, rural areas would also be connected. Now, this is clearly being built as a major announcement. Prime Minister Modi is just in minutes from now set to unveil the Saubhagya Pradhan Mantri Sahaj Bijli Har Ghar Yojana. Now, the scheme aims at providing the last mile electricity connectivity to all rural and urban households, like we pointed out. Now, this announcement was going to be made at the BJP's National Executive Meet, reinforcing the ruling party's electricity for all target. Let's just go back to 2014. That is when the Prime Minister had promised electricity for all, one of the main reasons in their manifesto promising the people was electricity for all. And today, the Prime Minister, at least verbally delivering on that. Well, the target of this was 2018. It has been now moved to 2019. So by 2019, the Prime Minister hopes the last mile connectivity when it comes down to electricity. Now, the announcement is being made today on the occasion of the birth centenary celebrations of the Bharatiya Jansangh politician and RSS ideologue Pandit Deen Dayal Upadhyay. Meanwhile, the Minister of State for Power, R.K. Singh, which we see is, of course, Dharmendra Pradhan, and then Minister of State of Power, R.K. Singh, is also flanking the Prime Minister, and while the Prime Minister makes that major announcement. So one thing we can say for sure, that big ticket announcement today will be relating to the power sector.
भारत के माननीय प्रधानमंत्री
Well, let's just go back. The Prime Minister had in 2014 said that the government had set a 1,000-day target to electrify over 18,000 villages that don't have access to electricity at all. It was 2018. That was the time given by the Prime Minister, but now that deadline has been shifted to 2019. However, in spirit, in word, the Prime Minister keeping his promise. Of course, it's yet to see whether the promise would be delivered when it comes down to the last mile connectivity. However, even as the government has made some headway, one could possibly say, in electrifying villages, there is still a lot that needs to be desired. There have been standing concerns on whether the government would be able to achieve its dream of providing stable 24-hour power supply to all households. Mind you, this is an ambitious project, last mile connectivity to urban, rural households, the remotest of them all. And this is coming at a time when even urban belts complain of not getting electricity 24/7. So can this dream of the Prime Minister actually fructify and mean something tangible other than just a verbal promise that we might expect him to make a short while from now? Well, he hopes it would happen. The deadline, like we pointed out, was 2019, and now it is the deadline, like we pointed out, was 2018, but now it's been shifted to 2019. The Prime Minister is expected to dedicate this big pro-poor push to Deen Dayal Upadhyay, whose birth centenary is today. This entire function is taking place at the ONGC's new corporate office in the national capital. We just saw how the Prime Minister was taken through the big ticket projects when it came down to the ONGC. All right. Joining me is now Rajdeep Sardesai, consulting editor. He's joining us live. You know, Rajdeep, it's a big ticket announcement, last mile connectivity to urban-rural belt. Would you reckon that the tangible effect of this would be seen, keeping in mind where even the urban pockets in this country are facing a massive power crunch?
Look, let's be very honest, Preeti. The Prime Minister has announced similar schemes in the past for the power sector. You know, the fact is that when Piyush Goyal was power minister, a similar scheme was undertaken to take power to villages across this country, which were dark villages. What is interesting is that this is being repackaged in 2017 with a deadline of March 2019, so that just ahead of the elections, the Prime Minister possibly can claim this as another achievement. Now, using the direct benefit transfer scheme, the Prime Minister and the government has been reasonably successful in schemes like the universalization of cooking gas. So the Prime Minister is artfully, skillfully projecting himself once again with a pro-poor image. And we've seen that ever since he was targeted as a Sood Boot Ki Sarkar in early 2015 and lost 2 elections in Delhi and Bihar, the Prime Minister from 2016 onwards has made a conscious effort to reach out and be seen as pro-poor. And this is another scheme in that direction. The question is, should this be the priority, or is the priority of this government at the moment kick-starting the economy, which is facing a structural crisis? Only today, after 3 years, the Prime Minister has finally announced the formation of an Economic Advisory Council. And one wonders whether the Prime Minister simply wants to shift the narrative and the goalposts by announcing this power scheme, so that attention goes from the real core issue where the government is finding things very difficult, which is the economic slowdown and the crisis of jobs. So you've had Startup India, Stand Up India, Mudra Bank, but they haven't really been able to really reach those who need help the most. And one wonders whether this power scheme also is a nicely packaged scheme of an earlier program of the government on power, or whether this will be dramatically different. So the jury is still out, and the timing, I must confess, is very suspicious, because it comes at a time when serious questions are being asked over the handling of the economy post demonetization.
You know, Rajdeep, with what you suggest, that this could possibly, at least by the face of it, by the semantics of this scheme, look like it's old wine packaged in a new bottle. Many would then again call this an election jumla, keeping in mind you're going ahead in Gujarat, in Karnataka, it's election season.
Look, the Prime Minister made it very clear this scheme will fructify in March 2019. So clearly it is looking at elections. The Prime Minister, of course, insisted today to the BJP National Executive that I'm a leader who's not concerned about elections. But let's be honest, he wants to win elections just as anyone else does. I think the scheme in terms of trying to achieve last mile connectivity, in giving various benefits to the poor through the direct benefit transfer, in this case in terms of an effective electricity subsidy, in terms of LED bulbs that you will get, is in principle a good scheme. The question is, how different is this from previous electricity schemes that have been announced both by the UPA and by Mr. Modi's government when Piyush Goyal was in power? Is this really qualitatively different, or is this simply a nicely repackaged scheme with a new name called Sadbhavna, Sambhava Yojana? So you just wonder whether this is a new scheme, a new power push of the Prime Minister, the Saubhagya scheme, as opposed to the earlier schemes that he's announced. And on that, as I keep maintaining, the jury is out.
You know, Rajdeep, one last question before we let you go. So when you look at it now, it does seem, you know, our job is to see whether or not what this scheme is all about. Do you reckon that there'll be any tangible difference that would come out of this particular scheme? Like you pointed out, that there have been many that have been announced and nothing quite has come out of those.
No, look, the results are mixed. There is some evidence, certainly anecdotal and beyond, on the Ujjwala scheme on universalization of cooking gas, which has been reasonably successful. So there have been schemes that the Prime Minister has announced, pro-poor schemes, that have achieved and reached out to targeted audiences. Will this also achieve the same? We sure hope so. There are many dark villages in this country that are in urgent need of power. But remember, you will have to work with state governments. You will have to ensure that state governments, many of whose state electricity boards are bleeding and are in terrible shape, will they all be on board for an ambitious scheme like this? I think the good point is the scale of the Prime Minister's ambition. The weakness, I think, is that there is a sense that many of these schemes are announced in Delhi. On the ground, the implementation is often very uneven. And I think the timetable clearly suggests that this scheme has been announced with one eye on the elections.
One eye on the election, but Rajdeep, a case of misplaced priorities, like we're pointing out. We've done many shows on the state of the economy today. Jobs, on one of the main reasons was in the manifesto of the BJP when they came, that they would provide jobs. There's so much that needs to be done. Do you reckon a case of misplaced priorities?
Well, I don't know whether you call it misplaced priorities, but I think it's a deliberate attempt to try and change the narrative. The headlines tomorrow will be the Prime Minister's power push. The headlines won't be that the Prime Minister is still in denial on demonetization. So I think it's Mr. Modi's way of, in a way, managing the narrative. And you know, he's perfectly entitled to perhaps do that. Any political party would. But I think the jury is out on many of these schemes, on their actual effect on the ground. It's, you know, that is where implementation still remains the biggest challenge before any government, either at the centre or at the state level.
All right, appreciate you joining us, Rajdeep. Well, that's the latest that is coming in. In a short while from now, we'll of course move to that much awaited speech by the Prime Minister. All eyes on that, so stand by for that. Until that happens, I'm going to hand it over to my colleague Anjana, who's just joining me right now.
Thank you, Preeti. It's the Prime Minister's big power push, actually, where he wants 5 LED bulbs and 1 fan. Absolutely. Electricity for each house in the country. And even as he's about to announce this, there have been critics across who were saying that because of the state of affairs of the economy, is it the right time? But this is a long-standing announcement, actually, that has been awaited. And apart from this, electrifying the villages of India has been a challenge across decades, across governments. And now the big question is this being done at this time only for electoral benefits or not, is the big question. Will the target of March 2019 be met by the government, because the past targets have failed for various governments that have announced or made such announcements. But we would want to tell you that the government is actually going to give 60% of the entire amount that is needed to fund this in every state. The state will have to bear roughly 10% of the entire expenditure, and the rest 30% by the banks. For states with special status, they will be getting 85%, and they will only have to bear roughly 5%. We have Gaurav Bhatia joining us, and also Mr. Rakesh Sinha, RSS ideologue, is going to join us from the studio. We have Rajdeep Sardesai with us. My first question to you, Gaurav Bhatia, people are going to look at this and say, see, the state of affairs of the Indian economy is not too good. Announcement after announcement for electoral benefits. That's what the BJP wants. Mr. Bhatia.
No, I think it would not be appropriate to read politics into this scheme that would be launched by the Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi ji, because many of our schemes have always been for the common man, whether it was the Ujjwala Yojana, the Jan Dhan Yojana, and crores of Indians have benefited from it. And therefore, I would say that in Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, we have a leader which is decisive, which is honest, sincere, and India is moving towards a new, vibrant India where common Indians are being empowered. And this troubles the opposition, especially the Congress. So therefore, there should be no reading of politics into these schemes. These are for empowerment of the poor. And that has been the priority of the BJP government all throughout.
We can listen in to what the minister is actually saying right now.
मुख्य सचिवों से भी वार्ता की है. मुझे विश्वास है कि दिसंबर तक हम लोग इसको समाप्त कर लेंगे. लेकिन यह पर्याप्त नहीं होगा. प्रधानमंत्री जी को यह पर्याप्त नहीं लगा. उन्होंने कहा कि साहब सो ये नहीं, हमें तो हर घर को रोशन करना है, हर एक घर को रोशन करना है, और इसको कराइए. इसीलिए आज यह योजना लाई गई, और इसीलिए इस योजना को प्रधानमंत्री जी का नाम दिया गया, प्रधानमंत्री सहज बिजली हर घर योजना. यह जो माननीय प्रधानमंत्री महोदय का जो काम करने का तरीका है उसको इंगित करता है. ऐसे आधे अधूरे काम नहीं चलते. अगर रोशनी देनी है, बिजली लानी है, तो हर घर में लानी. और उसको एक मिशन के तौर पर लाना है। एक बहुत ही टाइट शेड्यूल भी दिया गया है। प्रधानमंत्री जी हम लोगों से अपेक्षा करते हैं कि दिसंबर 18 तक हम लोग हर घर में, कश्मीर से कन्याकुमारी तक, कच्छ से कामरूप तक हम लोग बिजली ले आ देंगे हर घर में, और वो हम लोग करेंगे। माननीय प्रधानमंत्री महोदय, हम लोग करेंगे इसको। दिसंबर 18 टाइट टारगेट है, लेकिन इसको हम लोग करेंगे। बहुत सारे घर हैं जहां पर कि तार खींचने की लंबाई ज्यादा है, पोल ज्यादा लगेंगे। बहुत सारे घर हैं जहां पर कि हमको सौर ऊर्जा लगाना होगा, लेकिन हर घर में बिजली जलेगी और 31 दिसंबर 2018 तक जलेगी, के अंदर जलेगी। इसको कहते हैं विकास, इसको कहते हैं विकास करने का तरीका। करना है तो करना है, और करना है तो हर घर में करना, और ये हो जाएगा। तब लगेगा कि हां साहब सो विद्युतीकरण हुआ।
R.K. Singh, MOS Power, actually talking about all the challenges that the government will face in enabling this entire Yojana to actually reach every household. I'm joined by Gaurav Bhatia, spokesperson of the BJP, Rakesh Sinha, RSS ideologue, joins me in the studio, and Tom Vadakkan, spokesperson of the Congress party, now joins me. Mr. Tom Vadakkan, I want to begin with you. Are you actually going to applaud the Prime Minister today because he set a target of 2019, or are you going to call it just a power push for the elections?
I've always applauded the missions and ambitions that the Prime Minister said, but unfortunately nothing is delivered on the ground, you know. 15 lakhs we were supposed to get, it never came. Demonetization happened, money in the pocket turned into paper. GST was introduced with great fanfare. I have unemployment on hand. 2 crore jobs are offered, where are the jobs? Now I'm happy that he's announced it, but beyond the Jimla, I did hear the minister. He says that it's an ambitious thing, every household, wonderful, but deliver please, for God's sake. Unless you deliver, speeches you can make till the cows come home, but point is, please deliver. People of India are watching you closely. 2019 is too close. If you give dates like this, deadlines like this, and you can't deliver,
another jumla by the government. Picture. Okay, Mr. Vadakkan, let Mr. Sinha respond. Another jumla by the government.
No, Anjana, this is the tragedy of former rulers of this country. They are the Congress party and other their ilk. They are unrelieved from the pain of demonetization. You go and debate anything, they would raise to demonetization. You know, till now, the masses remain unaddressed. It is not that development has not been carved out, but it remained concentrated to metropolitan areas, cities, urban areas. For the first time for the last 3 years, the government is addressing the core poverty class which remain in poverty. And when masses are addressed, when rural areas are addressed, these people who are disconnected from the ground reality, they don't realize how much relief they are getting. It's not that they have to do many things.
Mr. Vadakkan, his point is you're undermining the point that he's taking these 5 LED lights and a fan to the rural households, which you failed.
Is that question addressed to me?
Yes, Mr. Vadakkan.
Hello, are you addressing that question to me?
Absolutely, Mr. Vadakkan.
Oh, you can fix bulbs, you can do all LEDs, but electricity has to go. Electricity has to go to work it, no? The point is, make promises that can be, take a baby step, but deliver, for God's sake. Don't get into all this exercise of electrifying the nation. You are electrocuting people. You are not electrifying this country. The point is, he talks about villages. I've been traveling. The plight of the common man is atrocious.
Big allegation, Mr. Bhatia. Big allegation there from Tom Vadakkan. He says you're not electrifying, you're electrocuting the masses with false promises.
I think Tom Vadakkan ji is talking about taking baby steps. And Rahul Gandhi, their leader, spoke about poverty being a state of mind. And that is why the baby of their party did nothing And the failures of Congress have resulted in the fact that even when Congress has ruled for more than 50 years after independence, more than 30% of the Indian population is below poverty line. In Mr. Narendra Modi, there is a leader who has a vision. And let me just tell you that under the Jan Dhan Yojana, more than 30 crore accounts have been opened. Under the Ujjwala Yojana, more than 2.5 crore gas cylinders have been given, empowering women. These are things that Congress can never even dream of. And Mr. Rahul Gandhi himself is a parliamentarian who has 43% attendance in the parliament.
Mr.
And before election today, Anjana, he decided to visit Gujarat. Where was he when the MLAs in Gujarat, the Congress MLA in Gujarat were partying when Gujarat was facing floods? That is the question people of this country are asking.
Mr. Tom Vadakkan, his question is, okay, fine, let's put this question to Mr. Vadakkan. Mr. Vadakkan, what you actually address is your party leadership and how Rahul Gandhi is literally running from temple to post, trying to Dwarkadish Mandir, changing his image. Is he trying to fight Modi his way? The Modi way?
Mr. Gaurav Bhatia, a new convert into the BJP ideology, is talking the new convert's language. Let it be said today, when I said baby steps, I meant that steps that can be implemented. For God's sake, for God's sake. Today, no.
We don't believe in dynastic rule.
I know. You're a new convert.
Yes.
No, you don't believe there are 20 dynasties in the last count today. I can count
you
till
want
cows
to
come home.
Mr. Rahul Gandhi because he belongs to a
you
dynasty.
yourself came from a dynastic background.
Mr. Rahul Gandhi on foreign soil said
you also belong to a dynastic background. You also belong to a Rahul Gandhi
who rise through hard work, honesty and dedication.
What are you delivering? People are not.
Why not?
Asking
you worship dynasty in the BJP. We believe in hard work. Look at the Prime Minister. He has risen through the ranks through his hard work.
What hard work?
What about the President of India? He comes from... He comes from...
I am not questioning the credibility of the Prime Minister. I am questioning the credibility of people like you.
Mr. Rahul Gandhi goes on American soil and says, India is a country ruled by dynasties. That is the norm, and you want to worship him. So you are free.
I am not talking about the Prime Minister, Mr. Bhatia. I am talking about
546 seats in Parliament. Your Vice President does not even know how many seats are there in the Lok Sabha.
Let's not make this debate about Gaurav Bhatia and his choice of which party he wants to be the spokesperson of. Mr. Vadakkan, I think we need to, with a leader like you, we need to go to the bigger platform. It's not about Gaurav Bhatia's choice of which party spokesperson he wants to be. My question to you is Rahul Gandhi trying to change his image? Because he thinks, because the Antony Committee report said, and because now the Congress party is actually understanding that soft Hindutva is a must in this country if they have to fight Modi. A quick response to that, sir, and then a response from you, Mr. Sinha.
Have you read the Antony Committee report? Have you read the Antony Committee report you keep talking about?
So didn't it suggest?
I have not seen this. I have not seen it.
Didn't you suggest?
What have you read about the Antony Committee report?
It's sad that you haven't seen it because you're a party person and you should have seen it.
Congress President and Mr. Antony.
Isn't that appalling, Mr. Vadakkan? That even party spokesperson did not get access to the Antony Committee report.
Mr. Vadakkan.
False news. This is called false interpretation. You don't have a clue what this Antony report is, and you talk about Antony Committee report.
No, Mr.
Do you know what the report is?
You don't have a clue of it. You said you haven't seen it, sir.
You don't have it, but you want to support the BJP.
No, I'm asking a question to you. You can answer that by saying that the Antony Committee actually did not report so. Yeah. Why are you openly saying that you also didn't get access? Isn't that appalling that Congress party spokesperson didn't get access to their own committee report?
I am responding to his...
it is not,
Mr. Vadakkan, Mr. Vadakkan, I am responding what is the Antony Committee report or what is the source?
Submitted to the Congress President, and you assume that this contains, and this is falsification of the document.
Anjana
you have no clue what the document is about.
Anjana ji,
I want to support the BJP spokesman.
Why don't you enlighten us?
No, I'm
why don't you enlighten us?
I do that. I would do that.
Why don't you enlighten us,
Anjana, I have
you
read.
Say you didn't read
Mr. Badakan, I have read interview of Mr. Antony. In his interview, Antony said that in his report, he mentioned the fact that Congress got identified with a particular community, that is the reason why erosion is a support base. That is the interview of Mr. Antony. He enlightened the nation that in his report he mentioned two important facts. The Congress got identified with a particular community and it lost the connectivity with the majority community. Now I am coming to Rahul Gandhi's temple visit. Anjana, there are two things. Congress is following not Mahatma Gandhi but Machiavelli. Machiavelli has suggested that the politicians should go visit Mandir.
Mr. Tom Badakan is in the mood to give certificates to everyone. He calls for a logical person. Judges me and my stand. It's Mr. Anthony. And I wish we could pull out that bite from his interview where he had himself said. Quickly, Mr. Sinha, quick response. We have to slip into a break.
Rahul Gandhi is just following Machiavelli. It is a communal diplomacy. Going Majar and temple, it is not the concern and commitment. Here Modi is going, he is not going as a Prime Minister. Before Prime Minister, he visited temple. It is a question of his faith, Astha. You are questioning his faith and Astha. Here Rahul Gandhi is playing the politics just for the sake of taking the share in the Hindu vote bank.
Super action on Monday with regard to politics. We have Rahul Gandhi on an aggressive Gujarat visit, challenging the Prime Minister from his home turf, and we have the Prime Minister here after the National Convention actually announcing the... We have to slip into a break, Mr. Badakan. I'll come back to you. And Prime Minister Modi actually announcing the Saubhagya Yojana, which means electricity for every household in India by 2019. We're coming back. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is about to announce the Saubhagya Yojana, electricity for every household in India by March 2019. But before we go into that announcement, we're playing out the visuals of Rahul Gandhi actually challenging the Prime Minister from his home turf in Gujarat. We have all our guests joining us in the debate. It was 29th of June 2014, Mr. Badakan, and I quote, Mr. Anthony said, our commitment to secularism had eroded slightly because of a perception that it favored the minorities. He further said, some sections of the society have an impression that the party is inclined towards the minority communities. Do you think it helps the Congress party to stay in the state of denial? Because from what I can see, Rahul Gandhi has his roadmap planned. He wants to go into Gujarat, challenge Modi in Gujarat, and he wants to do it his way. He's starting it with a temple, Dwarkadish temple. We can see the visuals.
Your first statement, which you said and attributed it to Anthony, this was done in a speech in Kerala. Now, this speech in Kerala was a message to the state government, and this had nothing to do with the
Sir, you are denying the certain fact which is historic fact.
Speech
Antony has submitted the report. All the newspapers have
this is not Antony committee report. Let me complete.
Badakan, you should not deny this fact. Why you are rejecting the Antony committee?
No.
It may be instruction from 10 Janpad because this is unlikely from 10 Janpad that Antony is giving the report which is unlikely to be accepted by the 10 Janpad. So they are now denying. You are going by the instruction of 10 Janpad. You always fine. If Congress is denying that they have not identified with a particular community, there is no problem with us. My question, Mr. Badakan, my question is that...
Quickly, sir.
Rahul Gandhi's visit to temple, he's trying to become a carbon copy.
I'm afraid we're running really out of time. You call him a carbon copy. That's the style Rahul Gandhi now wants to adopt for the 2019 elections. But before that, the Gujarat elections this year end. I'm afraid we'll have to leave it there. Thank you all of you for joining me on this debate. But the Prime Minister is about to announce the Saubhagya Yojana in some time, electricity for every household, and we'll keep ourselves switched to that. Keep watching India Today.